Good morning and welcome to new episode of Coffee with the Librarian. Today is April 6th. Happy Easter, y'all. Hey,
Happy
Easter
Easter.
Monday. Easter Monday.
Right.
We have a few things going on. So April is National Library Week. I said that right. Yeah, we do a lot of things at the library. But April is National Library Week, and it is the week of April 19th. So here at the headquarters library on that Tuesday, we will be having our open house. And I hope you guys come out and see us. We'll be here all day on Tuesday from 12 to 8. Yeah. Also, I know y'all know about Coffee with the Librarian, but we also have this other thing called Legitimate Conversations, which I'm super proud of. And this month, you get to see our director twice because he's going to be on Coffee with the Librarian today because we missed him last month. And then he's going to be on Legitimate Conversations. So we get him twice this year. Can I get a round of applause? Yeah. And we'll be reading the book, Look at Me, My Life with Asperger's. Oh, look me in the eyes, My Life with Asperger's. And if you did not know, April is National Autism Awareness Month. Funny story about my personal life. My son is autistic with Asperger's, and he's born on April 2nd, which is also National Autism Day.
Wow.
So imagine that. He leans right into it, doesn't he? We will be having our very first voice verses here at the headquarters library. This is an after hours program. It will be on Tuesday, April 22nd. Is that a Tuesday? April 22nd?
Tell me more about that. What is
Wednesday, April 22nd.
I'm sorry. I might have some verses I need to spit.
It's actually a Hamilton theme.
Oh, that's right.
Verses.
That's right.
And it's in honor of our grant that we received. And we're still doing programs for that.
Wonderful.
So you got some Hamilton verses?
I could come up with some.
So, y'all heard that? We getting them 3 times this month. 3 times. I'm putting you on the list.
I know.
Okay. We're going to have some Hamilton verses from the director. Yay. Well, also, we normally highlight a business of the month. However, our business of the month is unable to come due to business running. So I just want to highlight our business. They sent me a text message. They said, hey, can you just mention me? Because I know y'all have tons of viewers, and we do. So Jasper Plaza, the owner there is Stephen Bernard, and he has several restaurants in that plaza. It's in Forest Park, and he also has a business that he does not own, but is run in his plaza called the Drunken Laboratory. I did not know Clayton County had a Drunken Laboratory, y'all, but it does. So if you're in Forest Park, it's behind the Chick-fil-A. There's a plaza by the post office and the Chick-fil-A called Jasper Plaza. It has several restaurants in it. So go by Jasper Plaza, check out those restaurants, support Clayton County businesses.
Very nice.
Director, you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
All right, let's do this.
Very excited. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How
How's
you
everyone? Good. Happy Easter again for those on yesterday. I hope you had a wonderful time, whether it was spent with family, going to service, or just enjoying the day. So thank you again for tuning into another episode of Coffee with the Librarian. I'm Scott Parham, the director for the Clayton County Library System. In our past episodes, I forget to introduce myself. And after it's all over, I'm like, did I even say that this morning? So I want to make it a point moving forward to let everyone know who I am and what we do. And again, as Kim briefly mentioned, we here at the Clayton County Library System do a great number of different events, programs, provide resources. And the impetus behind Coffee with the Librarian, again, started out by bringing awareness to some things and to some people in the community that could provide either information, resources, or services that most folks were unaware of. And so we are going to continue that thing this morning. We have an esteemed guest with us this morning. We have Judge Aaron Mason with us this morning, taking some time off the bench to spend with us. And we're going to get a little chance to know him a little better and have an opportunity for him to tell us who he is and what he does. So we're going to jump on in, if you don't mind, sir.
All right.
Good. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Okay. Well, my name is Aaron Mason, and
Okay.
I'm a Superior Court judge here in Clayton County. I was talking to a few people before we get started, and I was really recounting my service and years of work as a judge and lawyer, and I realized that this is actually 30 years I've served the county or the state in some capacity.
Wow.
In 1996, I started as a state court prosecutor in the Clayton County State Court, and actually I was the first African American state court prosecutor this county ever had. I went on from there to the Attorney General's office, where I spent about 10 years at the Attorney General's office, and from there I came back to Clayton County as the first African American state court judge this county ever had.
Wow.
That was in 2010. 2017, I was then appointed to the position where I'm at currently in the Superior Court. In all the years of service as a lawyer and as a judge, I learned a great deal about how the criminal justice system works from the ground up. I learned how cases are put together, how evidence is tested, and how it affects people in our community. Essentially, what I've learned is my job now is to protect the community and to help people.
Very nice. Very nice. What inspired you to pursue a career in law?
Well, actually, I'm going to say my mother.
Okay.
When I was young, my mother said I could do whatever in the world, whatever I wanted to do, I could accomplish. And I was around a lot of children, and I was in a group of children at one point where they asked, "Hey, what do you want to do with your life?" A lot of people said they wanted to be doctors, engineers, and astronauts, and no one said lawyer. And that kind of rang true to me. So I said, I want to be a lawyer. Now, I had no clue at that age, and I was probably about 5 or 6, what a lawyer did. But I did know, and my mother always let me know that lawyers were respected and they helped people. So, sort of my mother's influence kind of drove me towards service and helping others. So, again, didn't know what a lawyer quite did at that young age, but she planted the seed and it grew, and I eventually pursued it and was successful.
Very nice. Now, somebody on my staff doing their research said that you have either a military background or grew up with a military family.
I'm a military brat.
Military brat.
Yes.
Likewise.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Army. My dad was a retired lieutenant colonel in the Army.
I'm going to tell you a tidbit. I
Okay.
met my wife in the 8th grade because she's also a military brat. But that's another story.
Well, please tell us about being in the military family and having to move around and readjusting and having to adapt, I guess, to each time you move to a different city or different location.
You know, as I look back over those years as being a military brat, it has been a gift because I learned that the world was so much bigger than the small town I grew up in. At an early age, I went out of the country to Germany on 2 different trips. I spent probably about 7 years of my life, first when I was very young and then as a teenager in Germany, and then various states back and forth. The experience of learning how much bigger the world was at a young age was very helpful, not just in the states or countries I've been to, but in the ideas and people I met. I was exposed to a lot of different cultures, and again, I count it as a gift that I am so grateful for. It helps me every day in my job, actually, because when you are used to different cultures and people and different ideas, you're open-minded, and I believe it helps me do my job better.
Good. I've got a follow-up question a little later, so we'll come back to that. So we had the story about how you got into law, or mother planting that seed. Now, going from an attorney to a judge, what was that transition like for you?
It was difficult, actually.
Please tell us.
Very difficult because I spent 14 years practicing law. And when you practice law, you are an advocate. You are fiercely advocating for a side. You use the law and you make your arguments and you do your best to get an outcome. As a judge, that is not my role at all.
Right.
So when I transitioned from practicing law to the bench, I had this urge to want to advocate. So I had to fight that. And I also was watching lawyers do their jobs, and I'm evaluating what lawyers do, and I'm thinking I would have done that differently. But it was a little challenging at first. But now that this has gone into my 16th year, excuse me, of being a judge, I've lost that urge now.
Okay.
I understand my role is to ensure the process is fair, that to make sure the rules are followed, people are treated with dignity, respect, and I keep the courtroom efficiently running. So I got my role, I know what to do, and I have it down packed.
Nice, nice.
Yes.
Now, as a Superior Court judge, what does that exactly entail? What does that level, I guess, of, if I can, judgeship,
I can
what does that
understand.
mean?
Yes. Okay. So there are two levels of trial court in the state of Georgia. We have the state court level and the superior court level.
Okay.
The difference, I'll just explain the difference
Please, if you
between the
would.
two.
Mhm.
The state court level are the courts that handle our misdemeanor cases, and they handle civil matters. The Superior Court is the highest trial court level in the state of Georgia, and we handle the serious felonies. You've probably heard of the seven deadlies, where you have like murder, rape, armed robbery, sodomy, aggravated child molestation, very nasty things that we don't really like think about, but we handle the very serious felonies, death penalty cases. On the civil front, we handle domestic. So we talk about divorce, custody, child support, TPOs, generally families in crisis. Property is exclusively in the jurisdiction of the Superior Court as well, so we handle property matters. We also handle constitutional issues when people raise constitutional violation. That also comes to Superior Court. So it's those sort of cases, the very serious matters and important things that affect our communities and families that we deal with.
Wonderful. How do you balance compassion with the responsibility to uphold the law?
Well, there's really not really a balance there for me, and I'll explain it this way.
Okay.
The way you treat someone is you just have to have compassion, and the way you treat people with dignity, respect, you show them that compassion. But my responsibility to uphold the law won't change just because I have humanity. Some people, unfortunately, do things that they go to jail or prison for. And I could feel sorry for them knowing that it's going to affect their lives in a tremendous way. But my responsibility won't change. I have to protect the community and do what is right based upon the law. It's an oath that I've taken, and I can't change that just because I have humanity and I could feel for people.
Okay. Okay. Do you think growing up in a military family and moving frequently provided you a unique perspective on leadership, service, and justice?
I certainly believe it did. Because, I watched my father.
Mhm.
I watched what he did. I watched the service, the commitment that he made, an obligation to serve our country. I bring those same values to the bench because I mimic my father. Um, when you make an obligation, you live up to it. You understand that service comes before self, and that our community requires that we treat people with dignity and respect. So those military values that I watched and emulate certainly help day to day. And again, I believe that military background has been invaluable. Even though I personally did not serve, just being around like-minded people, my father and other families.
Yeah, very similar parallels. Again, mentioning my father being in the military, it wasn't my path either. But moving every 3 to 4 years,
Yes.
as he was deployed to a different duty station, it gave you a different perspective on life, I guess I'll say.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned or alluded to earlier, your view of the world is much is broadened much
Yeah.
more. You see different cultures, you see how different folks live. You have to adapt. And some would say that was hard making new friends every 3 to 4 years. Actually, it wasn't.
Yeah.
For me, at least.
I agree with
It really
you.
wasn't.
Yeah.
But it makes, I think, this job or any job I've had where I've worked in a service capacity to have that compassion, to treat that person with dignity, no
Mhm.
matter what they look like, no matter what background they came from. And so I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to pivot a little bit here to this next question.
Okay.
When people hear the word accountability in the justice system, they often only think about punishment.
Mhm.
Can you give us your definition of accountability from the bench?
Yes. You're right. People often hear accountability and they think punishment, that you take an action, and there's a response to that action that you have to be held accountable for and consequences. That is very true, but um, the way I will pivot that in there is I run the drug court. And with the drug court, we have people that um, their addiction drives a lot of the situations that they find themselves in. While we could hold them accountable, and we do hold them accountable, it's not a get out of jail free card. We offer them treatment and we give them an opportunity to get their lives back. You could say almost probation on steroids,
Okay.
the level of accountability that we hold them to. So being accountable doesn't mean you have to go to jail or prison. It does mean you do live up to your responsibility and those consequences and do whatever it is to get right, to whatever that requirement would be. Yeah.
Okay. Talk a little bit more about drug court. Um, we hear different statistics within
Mhm.
Clayton County, within the country. The type of, I guess, cases that come before you. Is there anything that is alarming or I'm trying to phrase this question, but let me just let you expound on drug court a little bit more about.
I would love to talk about drug court. Drug court is one of the most meaningful things that I do day to day.
Really?
It is.
Talk about it, please.
I was not a fan of drug court at first.
Okay.
It grew on me. And that's another story.
Okay.
But let me explain this. Drug court, people don't know that drug court started in the 1980s in Dade County, Florida.
Okay.
It's in 89. And it came about because judges, prosecutors, and treatment providers learned that you could not punish addiction away.
Okay.
You could, they were putting people in jail, but all was happening is people were going to jail, getting out, committing the same crime. It was a cycle. So drug courts were a way to bring accountability in which people could receive treatment, be reconnected to their community, where they could get treatment, fight the addiction, get educated, reconnect with their family, and stop the cycle of jail and going to court, being rearrested for the same offenses. So um, I may have forgot your question.
No, just to expound on it. And
Okay.
you said that it wasn't, you didn't like it at first, but it
Oh.
grew on you. And so,
I didn't at first because, as you've heard, I had a prosecuting background.
yeah,
And as a prosecutor, you're like, well, you do the crime, you do the
you do
time.
the time, right?
But as I got engaged into drug court, I learned that actually I do the community a better service by stopping people from committing these crimes and treating the core root issue, addiction.
Got it. Got it. What services are available, if you know of any offhand, for folks who are suffering from addiction that they could either enroll in a program, go to a facility before again completing that cycle or being that in that revolving door?
You know, unfortunately, I'm only seeing those people who come into the system.
Got it.
There are a lot of programs that could help people with addiction. But again, drug court is for those that are in the system
Got it.
already. In fact, if they weren't in drug court, I would say about half or more of my participants would be in prison. But instead, they're not. and they're actually being very productive to the community.
Very nice. Very nice. How does, in your opinion, how does ensuring fairness and dignity in the courtroom help to strengthen trust within the community? Because we have a lot of folks who follow
Yeah.
the different court cases, and we have heard in Clayton County um, at different times unhappiness with the judicial system. How do you go about strengthening those community ties?
Let me tell you this. I was talking with a friend of mine, a lawyer, who told me something. This is right on point to your question. Who told me something that I didn't connect the dots, but now I connect them very well. What he told me was, do you realize that the courts are the foundation of our democracy and that judges are the gatekeepers of that foundation? And when he told me that, we went into a discussion about that further. And essentially, what you have is, in a democracy, you have the people, the will of the people, who elect representatives who enact laws. But those laws have to be interpreted.
Mhm.
And if you don't do so in a way in which they are fairly interpreted, in which people have trust in that process, the democracy will then crumble or can crumble. And that goes back to your question regarding fairness and legitimacy. So every day when I'm in court, if I am very consistent and I handle cases the same way every time, that I treat people with dignity and respect, and that people know that I will follow the law. I won't be a respecter of person, depending on whether you have money or if you're poor. The law applies to us all equally. That in itself creates legitimacy and fairness. My job is to make certain the process, due process, is fair. And once I do that and people understand that, even when they lose, I may not rule their way or they may not get the verdict they want, but they can say, I can accept it because I had my shot in court and the judge didn't put his thumb on the scale of justice.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you for that. Um, what do you want your legacy to be when you are no longer on the bench?
Well, I hope that my legacy will be that he followed the law, he treated people right, and he did a good job. And I think of other judges that I've met over the years, and I emulate some of what they do. I hope that people look back to me and say, I want to be like Judge Mason.
Very nice. Very nice. Are there opportunities for high school students, or do they, I'm sure that they might, but do they have opportunities for high school students or even middle school to come and participate, sit in on a case to see exactly what it is that you do?
From time to time, I've had teachers come to my courtroom with their kids to watch court. But I
I know
have
some of
to,
them can be kind of,
yes, some things I don't want the kids to see.
Sure.
Because again, I handle some very challenging cases. But on those occasions where, not that it's necessarily appropriate for children, but on those days where I could have some cases that aren't as like a rape case or a murder case, I wouldn't want the kids
Sure,
to see
sure.
that. Something unlike that. They could see the process, and then after we're done, I love talking to the children. They asked all types of questions. They're very intelligent and inquisitive, and so I guess to answer your question, yes, we do have children come to the courthouse and see what we do. Another meaningful thing that does happen is to have mock trial. And
talk about that. I think, is it Jonesboro High School? That
well,
has one-
Jonesboro and all the high schools
Okay.
participate in mock trial in this area. In the past, I haven't in the recent past judged, but I do from time to time judge mock trial. So they actually present their cases and get a real judge ruling on their matters.
Nice, very nice. Um, one last question before we open it up to the audience. And I won't ask specifics, but has there been a case that you think about from time to time that just resonates, whether it turned out, well, I don't want to say whether, but again, just the case in your history that has lingering memories of how it went?
There is. There is. In fact, there's a case that, believe it or not, I'll tell you the setup to it.
Okay.
In 2015, I was in the state court. I was driving in my car and I heard on the radio a horrific event that happened, a murder, a double homicide. I had a feeling that somehow I'd be connected to that case.
Okay.
But I'm like, there's no way I can be connected because I'm in the state court. We don't handle that type of stuff.
Right.
Well, as fate would have it, within that next year, I was then appointed to the Superior Court. The year after that, the case got indicted, and it was my case. And not to give any specifics, but it was a 10-year journey from that point to finish it. From when I heard about it to just actually this year that I wrapped it up.
Wow.
There were several criminal defendants, and it just took a while for a number of reasons. There were obstacles beyond my control, but it's all wrapped up, and it stuck with me the whole 10 years, and I'm certain probably to the day I retire, it will be with me.
Wow. Wow. Very nice. And thank you for being candid. I can see it kind of held some emotional attachment to that. Are there questions from the audience or questions that have been submitted online? Laura, anything? No? Mr. Hildreth?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, I don't know exactly, make sure I use the correct term, but especially for drug court, is Clayton County or nationally be going to more of the no bail? Because bail, if people can't make bail, then they can, especially in Clayton County, from what I understand, there's a lengthy time between arrests, if you're incarcerated, and getting a court date. So, and with no bail, if you go to jail, of course, if you have a job, you're gonna lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows, your car, whatever other properties you have. And then it's such a burden on families.
I agree. That is very troubling. We do have bail here in Clayton County, although some people aren't able to always make it. I can tell you there are some cases that do have to come to the Superior Court, and I handle those almost on a daily basis, and we do our best to, deal with them. Not all people will get bail, or even if they do get bail, they may not be able to afford it, whether that's through a bondsman or having a property bond. But I agree that if someone isn't able to get out, they could lose a lot, whether it's their job and their means of supporting their family, of course, is very important. Yeah.
Question in the back here.
Good morning. Do you have any volunteer opportunities?
Volunteer opportunities. Well, I'm trying to think. I don't have anything directly in which people could volunteer to help, but you know what? That's something I could work on. What type of volunteer interest do you have for the courts? Because maybe that could help me figure something out.
And anything, clerical, anything that you probably need, cleaning your offices, anything.
Okay, well, that's something that I'll have to get back with you on, because there are people that do that type of service for me. And you have to understand that we deal with very sensitive information.
Yeah.
So even if there is a volunteer opportunity, there may be some strict background checks, etc.
Very nice.
Good morning, and thank you for being here. To piggyback off of her question, what would you recommend the average Clayton County citizen do on an everyday basis to support the system, you know, because it's cyclical,
Yeah.
what you're saying, yeah.
Let me tell you something you could do. In fact, it's something that I dealt with this morning before I came here. I greeted a room full of jurors. When you receive jury service, the best thing you could, as a citizen in Clayton County to support the system, please show up, go to jury service, because do you understand that as jurors, you set the standard that applies in our community for any of the cases we deal with? It's the most democratic thing you can do. And a lot of people don't always show up, or if they show up, they don't have the best attitude. I would encourage everyone to please show up, give the service the important attention that it is due, and you will help make our community better because you are directly affecting the standard of justice in our community by serving on a jury.
Thank you.
As we change microphones.
So kind of piggybacking off of that question, recently there was I don't know if you want to call it a high profile case in Ohio, to which the jury came back with a favorable verdict for, I think he was the defendant. Anyway, but it has recently come out that the judge actually went into the jurors' room and basically reamed them out because he did not agree
Wow.
with what they came back with. So as a judge,
I wouldn't do that.
no.
Okay.
No.
On the record.
But how, is it common to not agree or think that the jury got it wrong? And how do you basically sit there with that impassive face feeling like, oh, this is bad, this is very, very bad?
That is a very good question. And let me tell you my own experience. I've been a judge going on 16 years this year. In all that time, I've handled about 100 plus jury trials. Most of those, I believe the jury got right. What happens from time to time, and I don't know what's going on with that judge, that's something I would never do, but I find that people get sound bites and they hear bits and pieces and they say, what in the world was that jury thinking? But unless you're there from day one, from jury selection, hearing the opening arguments, hearing all the evidence, hearing the closing arguments, then most importantly, hearing the law that applies to the case, because that gives you the filter in which you then look at the facts. I've seen cases at times where I'd say, well, I may have decided differently, but when I think of the facts and the law I gave the jury, I'm like, I understand. You have to be very open-minded and understand that that judge may have known more about the case than the jury did. Because very often when the case is presented to the jury, there are things about the case I know because I've been handling the case for months leading up to trial. And there are some things that the jury should not ever know about. Now, I guess to answer your question, on the rare occasion when I disagree with a jury, and that's very rare, I just thank them for their service because they did their service to the best of their ability. I don't believe anyone would purposely get it wrong. And who's to say they got it wrong? It's 12 of them versus one person's opinion. That's why we have a jury of 12.
Well, thank you. That's actually comforting that you have agreed with most of the juries.
Most of them, yes. I would say probably 95%.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I heard earlier, when you're in the questions and your answers, you were talking about how you were the first in many of your appointments. How did that affect you as you were breaking down those racial barriers? And did it cause you any imposter syndrome or any insecurities, or were you able to just kind of walk into the room knowing that I'm the first and I'm the first?
That's a big
Well,
girl question.
That's a very good question, and thanks for asking. The first time when I was working, I guess it's the first state court prosecutor, African-American prosecutor. I didn't know I was the first. I just went there and did the job. I had no clue until after I had left that job that I was actually the first. So never was a thought in my mind. However, the second time, when I was the first state court, when I was the first being African-American in the state court as the judge, I did know I was the first. I had the benefit of being with 4 other great judges that were mentors to me, and they kept me on the straight and narrow, and I learned a great deal from them. So I've been blessed and lucky to have mentors and people to help direct and keep my path straight. Imposter syndrome, I can't say I had it. I just was, again, lucky enough to have good mentors that while I was in the moment, they helped me navigate those difficult moments. I had an open door. I could go down the hall, and I'm going to name one of them. He's unfortunately not with us anymore, but Judge Morris Braswell. Way back in that day, Judge John Carbo, Judge Linda Cowan, Judge Harold Benefield. Those were the judges that helped mentor me as a young judge. In fact, what I love about when I worked with them is, as a prosecutor, they were the judges there when I prosecuted. So I was able to work as a prosecutor in front of them and then be a colleague with them. And they were all just tremendous people. They still are tremendous people, except Judge Braswell, who is now departed. I'm very thankful for their guidance.
I think that's all the questions.
That's it.
I don't see any other hands.
Oh, we got another one. Hold
Let
tight.
me
Hold tight.
hobble over there.
Toss it. No.
You know, this has been a really exciting conversation. And one thing I just wonder, you have so much responsibility, and we always talk about mental health. How do you preserve your mental health because of the job that you have?
That is a great question. I have a strong belief in God, and that spirituality helps me. I have a loving family that I can go to. There are some occasions I just want to hug my girls because of what I see. But good question.
Very good. That was, a follow-up, but again, that's self-care.
Mhm.
How you see these things day in and day out.
Yeah.
How do you, again, preserve your sanity when you go home off the bench and again
Yeah.
are interacting with your family? So
Yeah, that spirituality, the love I have for my family, I have great friendship, I have people I could talk to, I have mentors that I could say, hey, this happened.
Yeah.
And being able to talk, having a loving wife helps. Even just getting out there and walking on our lovely trails in Clayton County help.
nice.
Nature.
It,
Mhm.
it does a lot. Any last minute follow-ups or yes, Dr. Pridgeon?
Okay, piggybacking off of that, how you personally preserve your mental health. As the court system, the judicial system for Clayton County, do y'all as a whole have any systems in place to preserve your mental health?
I cannot say as a whole systematically, we do not. But that is something, I'm scheduled in 2027 to be chief judge. So as chief judge,
I think, that
Okay.
deserves an applause. Absolutely.
that is something I believe I will implement so that systematically all the judges can get that benefit. So
Yes.
very good question, and that's something I could work towards.
And how can I help?
Talk offline. Yeah. Offline. Thank you so much. Any last minute ones? Anything submitted online?
No, that's all we have for today.
It's been a very enlightening educational conversation. And we thank you so much for being a part of Coffee with the Librarian. Thank you so much, Judge.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed
Appreciate
it.
your time.
Yes, sir.
So we look.